If there's one book that students may actually enjoy because their English teacher told them they would, it's The Catcher in the Rye. This book is for every emo teenager who feels like they're floating through life and realizing that the world isn't all it was cracked up to be when they were kids. It's also the book that Mark Chapman was carrying on the day he assassinated John Lennon. I don't know how many schools still teach this book, but I'm gonna tell you about it. The book was written by J.D. Salinger and published in 1951, though it most likely takes place in 1949. We begin with our protagonist and narrator, Holden Caulfield, standing on a hill by a football field, trying to feel some sort of goodbye. He's just flunked out of like his third prep school, so it's already not a great time. Holden goes to say goodbye to his history teacher, who reads his exam out loud to him and tells him how crappy it is the whole time. Understandably, Holden spaces out during this, and thinks about the ducks in Central Park. He wonders where they go when it's wintertime. Holden is 16, his family lives in New York, and he has an older brother named D.B. who moved to Hollywood to write movies, which Holden resents because he hates the movies and thinks Hollywood is phony. You'll find that Holden thinks a lot of things and people are phony. Almost everything, in fact. Holden also had a younger brother named Allie, who died from an illness when Holden was 13. He seems to be stuck in this tragedy, and rambles fondly about his brother to the reader when something reminds him of Allie. Finally, Holden has a 10-year-old sister named Phoebe, who never fails to make him laugh. Back in his dorm room, Holden puts on a red hunting hat and tells his neighbor, "It's a people shooting hat. I shoot people in this hat." He's not a school shooter or anything, he's just messing with his neighbor. Then Holden's roommate Stradlater tells Holden to write a composition for him, for nothing in return. He also says he's going on a date with Jane Gallagher. Holden perks up because Jane was his neighbor when his family lived in Maine. Holden ends up writing the composition, but instead of writing it about a room like he's supposed to, he writes it about his brother Allie's baseball glove. Stradlater comes back from his date, and he's like, "What the hell is this?" And then they get in a scuffle over that and Jane, because Holden clearly still has some feelings for her. Holden decides to leave Pensy Prep right then and there, so he hops on the train to New York. He finds a hotel, but because he's bored and not tired yet, he visits the nightclub, lying about his age. After that, he sits in the lobby and thinks about Jane, as usual. He remembers this one time that he and Jane were playing checkers, and then she started crying because of her lousy stepfather. Holden started to kiss her, but Jane wouldn't let him kiss her mouth because dang it, Holden, you didn't even ask for her consent. By the way, even though Jane isn't actually in the present story, she comes up a ton in this book. I mean, every time Holden is alone and sad, he's like, "Maybe I should give Jane a buzz. I wonder how Jane's doing. I wish Jane was here." And the whole book you think, or at least I thought, Jane was going to show up at the end, or Holden would finally call her and she'd make everything better, because that's kind of how these things go, right? But nope, Holden doesn't talk to Jane the whole book, except in his memories or daydreams. This is his way of revisiting an innocent time in his life that doesn't exist anymore. Which is sad, but also if Jane reappeared, he'd probably just use her as a crutch, and that's not the healthiest of relationships. Okay, so Holden takes the elevator back up to his hotel room, and the pimpy elevator guy's like, "Hey, you interested in a little tale tonight? $5 a throw." And because Holden is Holden, he's like, "Okay." So then Sunny, this prostitute, comes to Holden's room, and he thinks, this was actually a bad idea, considering I've never had sex before. So then he's like, I can't, because I just had an operation, but here's $5. Bye. In the morning, Sunny and the pimpy elevator guy come to Holden's room, demanding $5 more. He refuses, so he gets punched in the stomach, and Sunny takes his money. Anyway, he goes out walking, and sees this little boy singing, "If a body catch a body coming through the rye," and this makes him kinda happy. While he's out, he reminisces about his childhood field trips to the museum, but then he decides not to visit it. Because sometimes you return somewhere that you thought was mind-blowing as a kid, only now to say, "Why did I think this was so cool?" It reminds you how much has changed, and that's probably why Holden doesn't want to go in. Then Holden meets this girl Sally he used to know, for a date, I guess, and they go ice skating. Holden starts ranting about how much he hates school, and office jobs in New York, and people, and life. Then, because he's kind of insane, he asks Sally if she wants to run away with him, but as soon as Sally's like, "I don't think you know what you're talking about," Holden's like, "You know what? You're a pain in the ass." Understandably, Sally starts crying and tells Holden to get the heck out of there. So after that disaster, Holden meets up with this guy he used to know and asks him how his sex life is, as you do. The guy implies that Holden should get psychoanalyzed and leaves. This makes Holden even more depressed than he already was, so he gets super drunk, cries in the bathroom, and wanders into Central Park. He circles the lake looking for ducks, but doesn't see any, so he plops on a bench. He's like, "I'm probably just gonna die. I hope someone just dumps my body in a river, because that funeral for Allie was phony. My phony relatives didn't even care about him. And who wants flowers when you're dead? Nobody." Well, Holden decides he should probably see his little sister one last time, so he goes to his parents' fancy apartment and sneaks in. The parents aren't home, but Phoebe is asleep, so Holden wakes her up. She excitedly tells him that she's playing Benedict Arnold in a Christmas play. Don't ask me. Then comes the most famous part of the book, which is Holden talking about being a catcher in the rye. Holden's like, there was this kid, he was singing like, if a body catch a body, and Phoebe's like, no, the lyrics are wrong. It's if a body meet a body coming through the rye. Well, despite the lyric mishap, Holden says to picture a rye field on the edge of a cliff, where children are playing. He wants to stand on the edge of this rye field and catch the kids before they run off the cliff. Holden knows he can't stay at his parents' house, so he calls up one of his old teachers, Mr. Antolini, who says he can spend the night. Before he leaves, Holden and Phoebe dance, and she gives him her own Christmas money, which causes him to break down into tears. He gives her his red hunting hat and leaves. When Holden gets to Mr. Antolini's place, he's all buzzed and lectury, so he's like, hey Holden, you're probably destined for a fall, and you should figure out a goal, and most men are sickened by human behavior, but the educated man can keep a better record of his thoughts in school, and blah blah blah. They go to bed, but Holden wakes up to Mr. Antolini creepily petting his hair, so he decides to get the heck out of there. In the morning, Holden forms an all-new plan. Hitchhike out west, pretend to be a deaf mute, marry another deaf mute maybe, have children, hide them from the world. With this perfect plan in mind, Holden meets Phoebe to say goodbye. But she announces that she's going with him. At this, Holden is very alarmed and he lashes out at her. Obviously, Phoebe's reaction is not the best. To make up for it, Holden takes her to the zoo and buys her carousel tickets, and he then decides that he will go home with her. The final scene is Holden watching Phoebe go round and round on the carousel. For the first time in a long time, he feels happy. So happy he could cry. But that's not the end. In the end, we find out that Holden has just told us this entire story from some kind of psych ward. He could tell us more, but he doesn't really feel like it. We can only hope that the psychoanalysts helped him, though it was the 1950s, so that's questionable. Okay, moving on to themes and symbolism. Symbol number 1, Holden's red hunting hat. Holden calls this hat silly, but he wears it anyway, and he even likes to wear it backwards. This demonstrates that he's a social outcast. But the hat also offers a cover. It protects him from the cruel world outside, the world he has to join eventually. Symbol number 2, the ducks. Throughout the book, Holden wonders where the ducks of Central Park go when it's wintertime. He might just be asking for himself, since he doesn't know where to go right now. He's at a very turbulent stage in his life, and he just wants to escape from everyone and everything. He wonders if the ducks go to a better place, a peaceful place. Symbol number 3, the catcher in the rye. Holden's description of wanting to save children from falling off a cliff represents his desire to keep children's innocence intact. He doesn't want them to fall away from morality or be surrounded by bad influences as they grow up. Themes. Theme number 1, childhood as innocent and uncorrupted. Whenever Holden is feeling down, children seem to be the only thing that cheer him up. He's now entering into adult life, where he can't be carefree anymore, and this scares him, so he keeps running from it. Theme number 2, losing faith in humanity. Okay, so the whole time you read this book, Holden is just like, what is with humans? Why is everyone a pervert, a moron, or a phony? This social convention makes me blue as hell. I think lots of people feel this way at some point in their life, which is why so many people are drawn to Holden's voice. But sometimes you can get stuck in this mindset. And yeah, humans do suck, but we also made carousels, and that's gotta count for something, right? Okay, why does this book even matter? Holden has a very distinct, casual voice that makes you want to hear his story from the beginning. He's lonely and depressed and he hates the world, which a lot of people can relate to, especially teenagers who are going through a transition. The book is from 1951, but the edgy thoughts and feelings it portrays still hold up today. I've found that people either hate Holden or relate to him a little. It could be both, I guess. Just don't get absorbed in his worldview too much. Don't assassinate people.